And what is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the BB Brains, where we have had a crazy two-night of 2 hour episodes with two boots to fall back. A lot of twos tonight, as well as some weird usage of numbers for tiebreaker challenges. But before we get into that, my name is Kyle Dorr. I'm your lovely host for the BB Brains, and we are experiencing a very big rush to the end of Big Brother 27. And with tonight's boot of both Kelly and Lauren, which I actually predicted on mine, uh, we're going to be going into an interesting final five of Vince, who is now lost his essentially his number one. Like, people are saying Morgan is number one, but to me, he definitely wanted to take Lauren to the end because he knew he could beat her, which we'll talk about that later. But Morgan, who I see is pretty much the front runner now. Keanu, who is potentially likely to comp beast his way maybe to the end. Ashley, who has essentially really benefited from the boots tonight, and Ava, who has shown since her decision of picking Vince from the safety chain twist as of 2 weeks ago, might be regretting her choices. But how did we get here? What happened over the week? And was the edit not enough of what we've seen of Vince and Morgan talking into the wee hours of the morning, let alone fighting every second? The answer is no. um, but yeah, to start things off tonight, when it comes to the edit and what we got on the live feeds, really, we kind of feel like the condensed version, essentially, because what we saw with like Zinebot and how people were reacting to it, how those conversations came about with like Vince and Morgan with the Cheater Island stuff. Pretty much was like a lot of what we got in the early parts, and the only things that were missing was showing how meek of a person Vince is when it comes to Morgan and Lauren, because ugh, the edits have not done enough justice to show how pathetic Vince really is. Uh, but yeah, essentially, it's just we kind of got to see the more condensed version of what happened this week. Sans like some deals that Ashley has been working on with that of Morgan, Keanu, and Ava, with some extent of her pushing with Kelly and Lauren. That we basically did see tonight with like Lauren and Kelly for their conversation. Lauren not as much, but Ashley kind of saw that as just like a dead end. But yeah, so with that, like I guess we'll jump right into the episode that we had yesterday night, which was essentially our HOH nominations power veto ceremony app, which I would just dub that as the Vince and Morgan show, because that it was essentially what we had of a married couple. Um, so starting out that episode, we have Lauren feeling disappointed that Keanu is still in, but happy that she took out Will, which I think is bad. Of all the people to take on your HOH, it's Will. Like, ugh. My problem with Lauren, and it just carried on into tonight, were in her interview with Julie, of her saying that I have no regrets in my game. I'm like, I call bullcrap. Literally, I think my biggest regret if I was Lauren would be just Vince in general. Everything that stemmed from Lauren's poor decisions throughout the game, as well as her allies leaving, all stem back to Vince. And to her to be so happy that she took out players like Adrian and Will under her HOHs, not pretty. Not pretty. But after that, we got Vincent Morgan talking. They're both mourning Will and felt Will was too beloved and needed Ashley more, with Vince thinking with him having Lauren and Morgan on his side. You know, for again, I feel like this is just like Vince sucking up to the cameras. Vince, I don't think had much care for who goes. He doesn't have much care for anyone. Let's be real here. Vince is very slimy. We even saw it tonight with him twirling his mustache like the villain he is, and it's just like I can see him having some respect for Will, but I can at least acknowledge that Will was someone that anyone could likely lose to in the end because of how well liked he was. Um, it's just like the way that Vince described it. It's just that it was better for him to keep Ashley because it would benefit him having Morgan, having Lauren, and Ashley at least has more opportunities to win competitions. Granted, she's only won a veto, and it was the first week veto, but still, at the very least, she has like some potential to win challenges. Like in tonight's HOH, she was second from Morgan, so maybe we could have had an Ashley HOH, but. Was happy that my girls were safe regardless. I'm rooting for Ashley or Morgan at this point. Those are like my two, biased or not. Like I like Keanu, but I don't want to reward Keanu's horrible gameplay this entire season. Nor would I want to reward Vince with his meekness. Nor would I want to reward Ava with her delusions. It's like it's Ashley or Morgan or bust. That's all I can say at this point. Then we got Ava and Lauren talking. They discuss about their relationship and growing closer because of the evictions, and just feel like they have like a strong bond to get to the end, which they didn't show much of. But essentially, Lauren, Ava, and Kelly were kind of like trying to get this thing going of a final three together, which nightmare fuel in its own. But again, we didn't get much of information on that, and as of tonight, we're not going to get much going forward of it either. Then we got Keanu, Vincent Morgan talking. Talked about Keanu is pissed about Lauren and with Morgan reveling in. It's like, oh yeah, I'll keep Keanu around if he's going to target Lauren, which you know kind of worked out in that regard tonight. So kudos to her for that. Then we got Kelly talking crap about Vince and Morgan to Keanu. Keanu's not a fan. It shows a montage of just the shade of it all, of them like just not being big fans of the cheap mance going on. And it's just like gone to a point where at least it's the next segment where Kelly and Vince are talking, and Kelly throws Keanu under the bus about the cheating island comment, which I think is like CBS like probably telling Keanu like, hey, you can't say Temptation Island because that's a different show. So just say Cheating Island. Um, which I mean, same concept, it's just different name. But it's like again, this whole season, it's like Kelly has been throwing Keanu and everyone under the bus left and right. This time, though, at least it was justifiable because Kelly is like, I know I'm going to be a target this week. I just need to make sure that the target's more on Keanu than it is me. Which, you know, if it wasn't Kelly, maybe there would have been a better chance. But because it is Kelly, because after that, she was just collecting dead bugs the rest of the week. Then after that conversation, we get the Zinebot, the glorious Zinebot coming into the Big Brother house, ready to rip this cast a new one. I think this was the more brutal Zinebot that we have seen in recent years, and my only complaint about it is just how the cheater stuff was targeted more on Morgan than it was on Vince, when really Vince was the one in a relationship. Yeah, Morgan's aware that he's in a relationship, but watching on the live feeds, um, Vince was pushing for some other stuff from what it looked like. Just doing a lot of just trying to push for Morgan and him. Like even at a certain point, just like them locking eyes and looked like they were about to kiss, but. But yeah, Zeman enters and he starts off the zines by calling out Lauren and essentially just stating like Lauren is a baby, she's born and leaves people sleepy in a lullaby, and he's now wrong. And I like how some of the people are defending her, and like Ashley is just like she's got a personality. She's got to dig real deep, as you got to dig deep, as Jeff Probst says. But I watched her on the live feeds this whole summer, and let me tell you, no personality. Seems nice, no personality. um, then we got Kelly basically being told that she's creepy as fuck. Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, we actually had confirmation on the live feeds, well, of like the bug collecting, but I'm glad they acknowledged it with like in the confessionals from Ashley. It's like she's collected dead bugs. I'm like, yep, yeah, she is, and I'm glad y'all are at least talking about it. um, but then also after that, we got Vince, and this one was brutal. It was Ziva just telling him, it's like, you're a crybaby, you're unemployed, you live with your parents. I'd give you a zane, but life beat me to it. I'm just like, oh, harsh, harsh. But he's not wrong. Ziva was not wrong on that one. After that, we got Ava basically calling her a hobo with crappy clothes. And I mean, her style is at least different. And, you could say that it's like that of like a thrift, like fine type of style, which honestly, I kind of respect. If you can make thrift clothes work and you make it your style, kudos to you. But after her, it's Keanu talking about fantasy role playing and how he's essentially an ogre because of how much he snores, a troll with his feet, has an orc smell, and pees in the shower. Oof. Shouldn't have peed in that shower. I get called out by Rachel, Keanu, because that is really carrying forward. If anyone goes into the Big Brother house, there's a bathroom right next to the shower. I know that a lot of guys have done this. It's just maybe don't do it on a TV show. You know, you know. um, then after that, we got Ashley. Where is he about saying like how she's like boring and was Rachel's like little friend and sidekick, and it's just like, come on, Ashley's actually more memorable than that of Lauren and a couple others that were in the house, but I don't know. They had other stuff to work with her, but unfortunately they just chose not to, which sucks. But what can you do? And then after that, they ended it on a high note, and whew, it was bad with them. Just like say like Morgan, like what do you call a person that you hug all the time, like just do all these positive affirmations for it, and all this stuff, and she's just like a number one girlfriend, and that just like had everyone just like ugh, cringe, and just like but nodding their heads along with that. And then you just got Morgan just basically breaking down and just aggressively cutting pizza after that. She's just so angry, and Vince is just trying to do damage control, but Zinebot's just like going over him and just like, I'm gonna leave. Solid year for the Zine bot. I love that. And Morgan spiraling. I'm just like, again, Morgan, like you and Vince, you have a lot of explaining to do after the game. Vince more so than you, but you are definitely a part of this. Like you can't be, feigning ignorance here. We've been watching the live feeds, y'all. Like they've been tied to the hip this whole week. So after that, we get into the HOH competition, which again, if you're a Big Brother fan and you're trying to tell people to watch the show, this is like one of those moments where you're just like, this is my favorite show, and I'm very much cringing to this. I enjoyed it, but you could definitely say like it is cringing. Because we got like a true crime doc thing playing in front of the house guests about how the mastermind essentially murdered Zinebot in broad daylight, and they were just answering the questions to what went down within it. And at the end, Vince came out on top, barely beating Kelly, might I add. And yeah, Vince is the new HOH. And I like how they're like just like whispering like, "Oh, he's probably gonna be back next year. He's not dead." Which I'm just like, yeah, it's Zinebot. Like they're not gonna drop this guy. um, and he's like so happy for his win, and he's happy that he's like worried that he can only protect two people when really it's like three this week. But whatever, they're on the math ain't mathing tonight this week, that's for damn sure. um Kelly's upset because she's gonna be up for the sixth time, probably the second time with her not asking, I'd say. Everything else I feel like she has. um and then Keanu celebrating with Ava, feeling like that she'll go up. um it's like, we kind of got like a good understanding of the house dynamics at the very least toward the end of the season. It's just that, we kind of figured this week it was likely looking like Kelly or Keanu at first, until everything that went down with like Morgan in the HOH room with Vinny trying to push for the Lauren boot, which, you know what, again, with how tonight went, Morgan and Ashley definitely got the biggest win out of this tonight. Ashley more so than Morgan, but we'll talk more about that. Um, so after that, we got Morgan celebrating. She's just doing her thing, and we got then Lauren and Kelly talking, discussing about working with Ava and how if two of them are on the block, they'll at least control the numbers, which they're right. Obviously they only needed two votes to cause a tie this week, and they're really certain that Keanu would go in that scenario. Again, no, Vince was like making promises to everyone, which shocker, he lied. To half the house yet again. So I think that the repercussions of tonight might just ensure he probably is going to lose the game. I just don't see this cast respecting him enough to give him their votes, other than maybe Keanu, but that's just Keanu. So there's not much there on that. But yeah, we got then Morgan and Ashley. They're discussing about the noms. Ashley's wanting Lauren up to benefit their games, which again, right call there. Having someone like Lauren leave or Kelly leave this week definitely benefits her game and Morgan's game. Um, and then we got Keanu and Vince talking. They discuss about how Keanu's disrespected him with the cheating island comments, and then Vince is doing like, "You're disrespecting me. Why are you doing this? Like, Keanu, I thought we were friends. I feel like I gotta put you up now because of your Cheater Island comments. I mean, I got Kelsey back home. What is she gonna think of me like that?" And I'm like, boy, Kelsey is long gone. She has left your social media accounts on like red for weeks now at this point. Like, and again, he's just like doing what he does best, like being meek, acting like always me with Eeyore, and just like giving his reason why he's going to put up Keanu. And Keanu is just like trying to defend himself, but I'm just like, Keanu, you did say those things. It's like, should you have said that to someone like Kelly of all people? No. Should you said that to anyone in general? No. But you also took your grade by saying that in general. He was still going to go up regardless. But, it's just, it is what it is there. And then after that, we got Morgan and Vince talking. Morgan's pushing Lauren with Vince pushing back, with like just basically starting this whole story of Morgan basically trying to get Lauren to be the nominee. And then we got Lauren and Vince talking. They discuss about needing to go up to ensure Ava or Kelly goes. Lauren is pissed and basically pushes back. Vince is struggling with that, and it's just like him, just like, but I want to work with both Lauren and Morgan. I want to make sure I have my number one and my number two. I like, but why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? Like, why did I do this to myself? I'm like, Vince, stop playing this bull crap. Like, you do this to yourself all the goddamn time because you wanted to play middle. And as annoying as you were, you got to be the middle. So we get into the nominations, and Vince nominates Ava, Kelly, and Keanu, with Ava calling out Vince, which none of us knew about that watched the live feeds. This tells you how uneventful that moment was, because literally no one mentioned it on the live feeds leading up to this Wednesday night episode. So from the hours of Friday to Wednesday's episode, no mention of this was wild. But and again, it felt very performative. And again, like some of these speeches are performative, but this is just like, okay, you're grabbing like an actual pawn out of your pocket. It's like, calm down, Eva. Like I get you're trying to perform for the jury, but it's like it's not gonna read well. So not good. But then after that, we got Lauren and Kelly talking. They're concerned about Lauren going up and is she used veto on Kelly or Ava, which it was a big discussion. Like obviously, like she was really pushing, like, we need Lauren to win this so that one of us so not only is one of us off the block, but she doesn't go up and Ashley goes up. Which, would have been the right choice for Vince to make this week, but who am I to judge the judges? um, we then got Keanu telling Ashley he'd pick her for the veto and she'd want to keep him safe, which was a ongoing conversation in the house. And again, Keanu, being Keanu that he was, is just like, yeah, I'll pick Ashley. And then it's like, you know what? Morgan's won more competitions. I feel like that might benefit my game more, which it has paid off, you know. But the way that Keanu's been acting this week, he was playing with fire. He was on the verge where like people were just like, I'll just vote his ass out over anyone else at this point. But after that, we got Morgan and Vince talking. Morgan is emotionally telling Vince that how he feels about himself and Lauren. Vince feels like she's breaking up with him in the game, that she's given him an ultimatum, which again, this is like the one of 1,000 conversations that happened between Vince and Morgan over the course of a few days this week. And like again, when they did a montage of like sun going up, sun setting, moon coming out, of them just being in the HOH room together talking about this, that was legit. They were up in the wee hours of the morning discussing about all this stuff to the point where like Morgan's like, I'll stay in here. I'm going to sleep by you, but I'm going to sleep opposite of your bed because I don't want to deal with you right now. I don't want to sleep beside you. We're going to put up a pillow fort. I don't want to be beside you. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so high school. This is so, you're in middle school. It's just so bad. But again, Vince is like an emotional manipulator and gaslighter, but I think Morgan is a better one with that because at least with her emotional manipulating and gaslighting, she's actually getting results out of it where Vince is just like folding every chance there is. So after that, we get the little montage of the girls' night dance along with Keanu in the room. I saw a little bit of that in the feeds, and I'm just like, oh, this is cringing. I feel bad for Keanu. And I did like the little commentary from Keanu where he's just like, there's crying, there's whining, and that's just from Vince. And I'm just like, the stray fire at Vince there on that, which I'm just like, fair though. Like, but again, there's also like we're missing some testosterone, and they show all the other guys. And I'm just like, Adrian, testosterone, Jimmy, testosterone. It's like, okay, Keanu. But after that, we got Vince and Keanu talking. Keanu wants him and Vince to be boys again and pushing for the Lauren ring now, which Vince is just like, I don't know. I do want to work with you, Keanu, but I don't know if I want to put up Lauren. And then we got Morgan and Keanu talking, with discussing about her being picked for veto, using it again, Lauren up. Again, it was a lot of conversations with like Morgan and Keanu and Ashley to really rally to get Lauren out. And had like Keanu won that blockbuster, chances are Lauren probably would have left. But I don't know. Same scenario, regardless of what happened tonight. And then we get our veto picks, and then Keanu picks Morgan, much to Ashley's chagrin, and Lauren gets picked right after. Like Ashley is pissed, and Keanu says Morgan would use the veto on him, and Ashley says that won't happen, which she is correct about. Ava is pissed overhearing about this and tells Lauren again. I'm just like, maybe not have this conversation when Ava is like right there, 5 feet away in the bathroom. But again, that who am I to judge in this scenario? But yeah, like so many conversations between Ashley and Keanu, and I feel like we're just back to Keanu and Rachel again, but we're just replacing Rachel with Ashley because she is just like so frustrated with Keanu and his horrible social game, and it's just like getting to her on a whole other level. And I guess I feel like at least we're like getting something in this game that was still the same. um, Yeah, but after that, we got Lauren needs to approach Vince and tells him about the chance that the veto is used, that she said about her wanting to not go up. He tells her about Morgan's ultimatum, which obviously she's not happy about after like trying to fight not to go up. But after that, we get into the veto competition, which was the competition that introduced the 16, where they're just like bouncing balls over like a giant magnifying glass in this case, and just having to get all of them on there to and then press the button for the winner. It's a competition. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I will have to say kudos to Morgan. She kicked ass. This is her third veto win in a row with her fourth. Well, no, with her fourth competition win tonight. On top of that, um, and I do like that they kept this in because this was like a moment on a live feed where we're just like, this is hilarious and cringy, but I know we're not, it's not gonna make the show, and yet it did, so it's like cool. Where she like, made out her win to the gamers and the streamers out there. And again, if anyone's been watching like some of like Morgan's clips and stuff that have been appearing on Twitter from her Twitch, she is a bold lady. I'll tell you that much. I kind of want to watch some of her streams because she is an unhinged that I kind of enjoy, to say the least. Um, so after that, Keanu congratulates her on her three-peat win. When let's be real here, he's only won two, and Casey won the other one for him. But that's neither here nor there on that. And obviously, they're discussing about the veto being used. But then Lauren and Vince discussing about how he'll try to not have Morgan use the veto, so that way Lauren will not go up. Fat chance there because this is Vince we're talking about. Um, and then we got Morgan and Ashley talking. Sorry, Morgan and Ashley, Morgan and Ava talking, and Ava is like trying to tell her like, "Hey, maybe use the veto on me, just because it's like it's me we're talking about." And like actions speak louder than words for me to gain favor. And Morgan's like, this sounds interesting. And this was a, an interesting pivot of her like trying to go from using it to like thinking of using it to Keanu to using it on Ava, because there was a whole day where Morgan was like dead set on using it on Vita, using that veto on Keanu of all people, which whole mess of things there, which could have ultimately led like Ashley going on the block more likely in that place, which not good stuff there. But thankfully, like Morgan basically came to her senses, like I'm not gonna do that. I think Ava is probably the better option here, and with Morgan, seeing that Keanu versus Lauren versus Kelly on the Big Brother blockbuster would be the better option in that regard. So good judgment there, Morgan. You had a moment of like weakness, thinking that oh yeah, Keanu might be the better option, and then realizing oh yeah, it's Keanu. Never mind. um, but yeah, like the whole situation with like Vince like telling Lauren nonstop that he's not going to get her up. We knew that was kind of bullcrap because then in the next conversation we got Morgan and Vince discussing about the veto renom, which goes through the night and day cycle until we got to the veto meeting where it showed 30 minutes before, and she tells him, "Look, you can put her up, we won't vote her out." And he's like, "Are you sure? You really mean it? You're not going to vote her out?" And she's like, "Yes, Vince, we won't put her out." And then cut to the ceremony. Morgan uses the veto on Ava. Lauren goes up, and we had the episode there. Throughout this week, we didn't really get much else to be seen for the live feeds. Honestly, again, we get like a major fight between Vince and Morgan, but again, that is discussed in the episode tonight for the double eviction. Um, Really, anything else that was leading to that ceremony Nothing of much note, to be honest. It was just, you know, when everything that's happened in the game regarding the twists and stuff, it's kind of stifled some gameplay. We had Ashley still today talk on the live feeds where it was just like Big Brother's telling him not to nap, and it's just like, well, what else do you want us to do? Because this twist kind of ruined us doing any kind of gameplay conversations, which, she's not wrong. But yeah, so we get into our double eviction episode tonight, which I'm always happy. Double evictions are always like a fun and stressful night. And you never know how they're all going to turn out. You never know who that second boot might be. You can have like an epic night where you can have something of like clown shoes flying out that will take out a player like Jeff Schroeder did the same night that Danny Donato was voted out with them. Or like you have Michael, who Ava would despise because he pulled Alyssa and Taylor to the side, begging them for their votes as he would need to stay, and then throw Brittany under the bus to just try to keep him alive. Like moments like that, like you never know what you're going to get with the HOH or a double eviction tonight. Unfortunately, tonight's double eviction, more on like the tame side. It was just like, okay, we lose Lauren and we lose Kelly. Nothing too special of a night, but you know, with the narrowing down to five people left, I mean, it's an interesting final five. Like at the very least, Ava, Keanu, Vince, Morgan, Ashley. You know, take Rachel aside. Those five have been the most predominant characters the entire season. So, quite honestly and frankly, this is probably like the better scenario of a final five we get to end up with because having someone as boring as Lauren and someone that is Kelly, who is I don't think of this planet, in that final five, I would not be happy. So I'll take it. But we got the episode starting of Morgan noting that she keep Lauren safe for Vince's sake, which some truths there. And we got Vince, Morgan, and Ashley talking where he's complaining about Lauren ignoring him while Ashley and Morgan are hyping him up as he felt like he was forced to number. And I'm just like, Vince, who's the HOH this week? You know, maybe play for you. Maybe don't blame everyone else for your actions. But this is Vince. He's a 34-year-old man who has not kept a job and most definitely not keeping a relationship after the season. So after that, we got Abe and Lauren discussing about needing Keanu out, which no brainer there. And then we got Keanu and Kelly noting about Vincent Morgan and how they will keep, like, how they'll basically keep Vince safe and that he's hoping to take out Lauren, which, again, no brainer. A lot of these are basic conversations that are just filler for tonight leading up to the DE. Because then we got Vince and Lauren talking, Lauren guilt tripping him, which Lauren Morgan then joins in, and Vince is just like trying to say, "Oh, this is the perfect final three." And Lauren and Morgan, when you're watching on the live feeds, you could just feel like the both of them were just like, "Fuck that," which is just leading up to the big conversation that Morgan and Vince are going to be having later in the episode. And after that, we got Lauren and Ava smack talking about Vince, and Lauren is done with him after this whole thing, which, you know, it should have been a little sooner than that, Lauren, but, what can you do there? And then we got a whole segment about Vince being in pain, about just cramping out and everything, and just being in pain all the time. Bro, have some water in your diet. Drink some water, dude. Like you'll cramp up a lot less. You have less Charlie horses in your life. Trust me, I've been in those experiences before. They're not fun, but Jesus Christ, dude, drink some water. Have a banana. You'll cramp up a lot less. After that, we got Keanu and Morgan talking. He discusses with Morgan that Lauren is the bigger threat, which again, we kind of gathered. Then we got Ashley and Kelly talking. Ashley is like just looking at Kelly like there's a potential chance I could take her to the end because she believes she could beat me when really anyone will beat Kelly in the end. I just feel like a little apprehensive on that with Ashley because you never know how the perception is with her because Rachel wasn't talking too kindly about the way Ashley was playing. Will was more in favor of Ava over Ashley, so a little concerning there with that. But I'm glad I didn't have to worry about having the final two of Ashley and Kelly somehow winning. Then we got Morgan panicking about Vince's comments regarding Lauren, which then leads into the segment of Vince and Morgan fighting each other. And again, the fight was like longer than this. It was like hours upon hours of conversation. With one of the, when I want to like to note where he was just like, "Look, I've only been giving so much attention to you," and Morgan's like, "Oh, you've only given me partial attention? Okay, Vince, fine. I'll leave then." I mean, again, it's just some petty drama and stuff, but it was just like so much of them going back and forth on everything, and then going into the morning where they're fighting about of keeping or taking out Lauren, where Lauren and Kelly are listening in, and and Lauren is just breaking down crying as the two are just fighting back and forth between rooms in the HOH and bathroom, and then we got Lauren just trying to like chime in, like, "Can I talk to you guys for a bit?" and then get kicked out with Kelly then kicking down the door and it's like, "Hey, can you talk to this lady here?" And then just like a whole day of drama with that. It was just a whole hot mess. And again, ends up meaning like nothing because, again, tonight we lose both Kelly and Lauren, regardless of what happened. But yeah, Vince confirms to Lauren they won't vote her out, nor would Morgan, or at least for the first part of the vote tonight. And then Ashley and Morgan discuss about Vince and how he reacted to Morgan about the Lauren situation, and where Ashley is pushing for Lauren to go, which again, no brainer. And it felt like with the scenarios tonight going in before the blockbuster, it was very much looking like if it was Lauren versus Keanu, Lauren would stay. Keanu versus Kelly, Kelly goes obviously, and then Kelly versus Lauren, Kelly goes. So interesting stuff there. But at the very least, we get into the blockbuster. We see it's like pretty much like the staple like of certain like eh, competitions for these DEs, where I was like jumping into piles of like just whatever to get balls out to use. And this was like a competition that actually most men. This is like pretty much all men have won to drop the ball into like a small hole, and whoever gets it in wins. And Lauren's the first woman to ever win it. Surprisingly, I honestly thought going in tonight that Keanu had a better shot because he was a lot taller and he had more like reach to just drop the ball in. But he was panicking the whole way through. You could just tell there because he was just like dropping and not like actually like censoring himself and everything to that. So Lauren, she kicked butt, and essentially we get our first tie vote of the season with Ava and Lauren voting for Keanu, and Morgan and Ashley voting Kelly. And Vince breaks the tie and takes out Kelly, where Kelly leaves the game and curses out Vince by bringing up all of his deals with her and everything. Which, as much as I'm not a fan of Kelly, I can at least give her flowers in at least like going down swinging and taking someone down with her. And again, this was like the moment where like Vince was kind of like doing his villainous twirling of his mustache kind of moment. But yeah, I wish more players could do that. What Kelly did, where it's just like if you're leaving, at least leave with a bang. So kudos to her for that. But yeah, after that, we get the mastermind come out, tell the house it's double eviction night. Shocker there. Everyone kind of figured that it was going to be a double eviction soon. So we start the HOH, which is a roller where people are just like trying to roll these balls onto this mat. First to get 5 on win. And for what it looked like, Keanu and Ashley were like close to being tied for second, and Morgan just takes the cake and just kicks butt the entire way through. Which I'm like, as everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be the most boring outcome, and I'm just like cheering. I'm like, yes, Morgan and Ashley are going to the final five. This is my Super Bowl. So I was happy. I know it was gonna be the more boring outcome, but I was happy. So Morgan nominates Lauren and Keanu, And then we go into the veto competition, which is like the easiest version of Where's Waldo I have ever seen in my entire life of Master Find, where you have three options to choose from to find the mastermind in. And my God, I would have gone into that overtime because this was like the easiest comp ever. The fact that uh, Ava struggled a little, and the fact that Vince threw, and if anyone ever caught it, Lauren was like rolling her eyes when they heard like Vince was down one. She was like, "Of course, Vince, of course." Which ends up in a tiebreaker between Keanu and Morgan, where I think Morgan threw it personally. Like, unless she heard it was like minutes, then maybe. But like the fact that it was like in seconds, I'm like, ah. Her putting 120 and Keanu putting 1800, which I guess for Keanu, he must have like memorized like the perfect amount of numbers for that scenario for like hours, half hours and stuff. Because when he was like saying it to everyone in the house, it's like, oh wow, we were playing longer than that. I thought we played for just a half hour. And it was like 1800 seconds, which I'm just like, you know what, Keanu, kudos to you for that. You at least prepared for something like that. Even if I was like so confident it was 1800, I've been like, let's use 1799 just to be on the safe side. But Keanu wins the tiebreaker. He wins the veto. He uses it on himself, and Ava is then put on the block, where we then end up in a 2-1 vote for Lauren to go, with Ava's only one vote coming from Vince. So we end the night with Kelly and Lauren leaving, with Ava essentially losing pretty much all her allies in a span of a few weeks it's because of a one arm pull too hard, according to her, that now she chose Vince, that led to the demise of Rachel, Will, Kelly, and Lauren. How is that decision looking for you now, Ava? Was it worth it? Was it really worth it? Um, so yeah, we that's what we got for tonight with the double eviction, and obviously got James Gunn, who I didn't know how strong of Taylor Hale's connection game was, because for her to get James Gunn to appear for the final BB unlocked and hopefully the last of the season, kudos to them. Like, and I knew he was a fan. I didn't know he was that big of a fan, and granted, he had me at saying like his favorite seasons were 2 and 6, which I'm like, okay, you're winning me. And then say 16, I'm like, ooh, now you lose me. But I digress there. But yeah, that was our week of shenanigans, and pretty much got what we needed to see. Obviously, if you wanted to see like more squirmy fighting between Morgan and Vince, you can easily find that on Twitter. So no problems there. But so, following after this, let's talk about the survey I sent out this week. Because at least this week, some people responded. Um, so let's go over that. So when I asked people who their favorite player was, we got a tie between Morgan and Keanu, which honestly, Morgan ran this week. This was Morgan's week to lose, and she basically came up on top. The only thing I would say, though, is just that Ashley probably came up a little higher because of the fact that, she is not going to be as targeted as hard as someone like Morgan. So I think she has more safety than she does. But we'll see how that goes. And Keanu, obviously, people are liking Keanu in certain degrees. I am kind of annoyed by him at this point because he's just still not getting the bigger picture here, but whatever, there on that. And then I asked who's everyone's least favorite player, and we got a tie between Ava and Kelly, which I'm just like, okay, dang, all right. I mean, Ava's performative attitude this entire week and her still justifying her actions and what she did to Rachel obviously is going to rub people the wrong way. And Kelly just being Kelly will also do that. And when I told people to rank the players from best to worst gameplay wise, essentially for this week, it was Morgan on top, Ashley second, Keanu third, fourth being Vince, five Ava, six Kelly, seven Lauren. Honestly, I can agree to most of this because Lauren, this entire week, did not campaign at all to Morgan to not use the veto. And Morgan and Lauren the entire week was just like, I don't want to campaign. I don't want to campaign to these people. I don't want to talk to them. I'm so scared. And I'm just like, Lauren, it's final freaking seven. You got to have some agency. You got to do something here. And sadly for her, it ain't gonna happen. And I would definitely put her on the bottom this week. It was definitely horrible gameplay on her end. And yeah, Vince was very meek, but I still rank him better than what Ava and Kelly were doing. At the very least, Keanu was at least gaining numbers with Ashley and Morgan. So he is doing some good with what he has. Granted, his social game is also not helping with that because he's also been pissing them off still. But what can you do there? And then after that, I asked, "Are you satisfied with Vince's nominations?" I got a unanimous yes on this one. I mean, I think that's more so because of how they were, not so much of like Vince's decision, but we'll let that slide. And then my next question was, "Who do you believe is going home this week?" And then my I got a tie vote between Kelly and Lauren, which I mean, y'all ain't wrong there. But then like my next question was, who do you think will be the second boot following after them? With Ava and Vince being the tied votes there, which I'm just like, I felt like of everyone of the double eviction, Ava was probably going to be the safest, followed by Ashley, followed by Vince. So I think it was going to definitely be a combination of Lauren, Kelly, Morgan, and Keanu as the likely second boot. And then I asked to rate the episodes this week. I got an average of a 6.5 for the episodes, which honestly ain't bad. I think it was definitely a step forward than what we had of last week with the whole crappy twists. So I agree to that. And then rate the live feeds this week was also a 6.5. I can also agree with that. Like we had a lot of highs with the whole cheat man's drama and everything, but other than that, it was a little bit on the slow end. But again, we're getting towards the end, so kind of expected. But yeah, so capping things off here, I'm going to do my rankings. So obviously, with what's in the jury phase, we'll start tonight off at 7 with Kelly, who is our boot, followed by 6 and Lauren, who is our second boot. With our 5 people left, the person I have on the bottom is Vince. Vince has essentially killed any chance of him winning this game. I don't think anyone is going to vote for him because everyone knows this week was Morgan's HOH. Kelly and Lauren are definitely going to specify that to the jury house. I don't think anyone's going to respect him. I don't think anyone wants him to win. I don't think anyone likes him at this point. And quite honestly, I just don't see any scenario where he wins. So even if he makes it to the end, he's going to get runner up. That's all I can see out of him. So for that, I have to have him on the bottom. And then following after them, I got Keanu. Keanu has just, he's still playing badly because he still needs to come out to win. And yes, he has Ashley. Yes, he has Morgan. Yes, you could say he has Vince to an extent. But he's also such a big comp threat that I can see people wanting to take him out this week if he doesn't win HOH. It's like, it's just right there for the taking. And then after that, I have Ava at 3. The only reason why I have her at 3 is because there are scenarios I can see her winning. It's just that it would have to be in a scenario where she's either next to Vince, next to Keanu, or maybe next to Ashley. But that is a slim chance. I still don't see much like agency from her in the game, and the fact that she has basically shot her game in the foot for these past few weeks, and I just don't know if she has that momentum to get that win. But she's at least in a better position than she would against Keanu and Vince. So, and at number 2, even though I said she came out on top higher tonight than Morgan, it is Ashley, because even though Ashley is in the better position in this game, I feel winning the game wise, there is some problems I do see with this whole thing because if people really do see Ashley as someone that has not played a game well, has gotten carried by Rachel or others, I don't know if she's able to win. If she's still in a strong spot, she's still in a great position. I just don't know if she's in that winning position. If she were to win an HOH or a POV to at least get some form of like, hey, I'm doing this to affect the game, maybe then that could change. But at number one, and I'm hoping it is number one, honestly, is Morgan. I think she is the front runner to win. She has played the best game. She has been carrying this game since Rachel left and has just been dominating with her challenge wins out of nowhere and just has everyone like just in her grasp. And the fact that really her biggest ops that are left are Ava and Keanu, I feel like she's in a good shot here to win. It's just a matter of can Keanu leave this week so Morgan can truly secure her end game? That's the question. But we'll see how this week plays out. And on that note, this has been a wild double eviction night. We're drawing near the end of the season here. We only got 1 week essentially left of the game with the not this Sunday, but the Sunday after capping off the season. I'm just gonna make predictions now for next week. I think it's either Keanu leaving or Vince leaving. I think these guys' time has come to an end, and I feel like it's gonna be one of them that are gonna be going to the jury house. Would I prefer it to be Vince or Keanu? Personally, I would want it to be Vince because I feel like I want to see more of Keanu in the final four. But if it has to come to an end for Keanu ending this game at five, so be it. I can only assume he's likely going to win America's favorite player anyway, so he's going to walk away with some money this season. So kudos to him. But my name is Kyle Door. Thank you for watching the BB Brains, and I'll see y'all next week where we're going to be capping off the end game of this season. Have a good one, everyone.